Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the LitRPG Audiobook Podcast. I'm Ray, your audiobook reviewer, and I'll be reviewing some recent and classic LitRPG audiobooks for you. But before I begin today, I do want to apologize and kind of come clean about something. Last episode, I had taped a segment for Life Reset EVP Book 2, and one of the things that kind of some people caught was that I'd actually already reviewed that book once before. And I'll explain a little bit of how that came to be. The first time I reviewed that book, it was during like a really stressful month. I had been working like seriously 80 plus hours a week for about 3 weeks. And I knew I had listened to the book and had written my review, and I did not remember recording it. I don't remember recording any of that I had done, but for some reason, Life Reset kind of stuck in my head that I needed to review it. And when I went back to look to see if I'd had my notes down, I had everything that I usually do. I go through and I get the name of the title and the author and the narrator and the time and all that, and I put that on the thing, and then I say, hey, here's a pause, so I can stop for a second, and then I put my notes down below there, and there was nothing down below there. So I thought, well, I know I've listened to the book, and I have had these ideas and everything I wanted to say, so maybe I just forgot to get to it. I can't believe I didn't do this. That should be in my sound booth spotlight immediately. So I went back and re-recorded without having any memory of recording it before, and thankfully, I am consistent because my scores were the same. So it wasn't like I said, I'm going to score this higher, I'm going to score this lower. They were spot on, and I had no clue. Like I said, I had no memory whatsoever of recording that. So it's kind of weird that I did it like that without having any kind of recollection at all of doing the video. So I apologize if you feel a little shorted from last week having to listen to that again. It's a very good book, and I'm very happy that I reviewed it the first time, and there was no problem for me to do it the second time. I enjoyed reviewing it again, and I think I gave it a bit of a different perspective the second time around, but I don't think I'll be re-recording anything else from this point forth. I think I'll be a little bit more diligent, and I'm not quite as busy. I'm actually recording this late on Monday night, and I apologize to Ramon for that fact. There are factors that kick in, and even though I had things prepared probably for Friday, I could not record until now, and I'm looking at my clock, and it's about midnight on Monday, so it's early Tuesday morning technically. So that's where that came from. So I apologize if you feel slighted from the show last week and not having it there, but that's just one of those things where with my line of work, I have to kind of steal every second I can to do certain things, and this is one of those things where my wife just said she was tired of going to bed, and I actually have time to come down and record. So this is literally the first moment I've had free all day for about 4 days now, and this is where I go. So I apologize. I'll be more diligent, but there was a reason, and it's because I was so bleary-eyed and burned out. I had no clue that I had done it. So there you go. Anyway, the first book that I'm going to be reviewing today that I haven't reviewed before, although I think technically, I think this was probably one of the earliest books, well, the series anyway, that I reviewed when I first started this show, because I'm reviewing Through the Belly of the Beast, Underworld Book 2 by Apollo's Thorn, narrated by Graham Halstead, with a book length of 10 hours and 6 minutes.
I cast lesser blood drain on every low-B zombie we came across as I walked with Eris. The dull gray stone of the headmistress's labyrinth under the dim glow of randomly placed light orbs didn't have the dreary effect you might think. This was one of the lightest areas in her entire dungeon, and with the addition of added light from our personal light orbs, it was rather relaxing. As relaxing as it could be surrounded by the ever-respawning undead. Lesser blood drain was powerful enough that I didn't have to bother killing these mobs with an attack spell. It dealt close to 200 damage itself. The stronger the enemy I cast it on, the less damage they would take. Outside of the newbie area, it would do little more than fizzle out until after I had killed stronger enemies. I sent out my skeleton warrior, who picked up all the loot and stored it in a large pack I had bought for him that was strapped to his bony back. It might seem like a waste of a level 170 skeleton's abilities, but the convenience was worth it.
So far, I have literally read a total of 2 books by Apollos Thorne, and both have been utterly enjoyable. I have to just come clean with that. I've enjoyed them both. Thought they've been really good. Now, I do have a 3rd book to go on Audible, so I can't wait to get to it. I just haven't gotten to that book yet, but I will, and it will be on the show as soon as I can. Now, The Belly of the Beast is one of those books that I like because it sets you up to expect one type of story, and then it hands you another. C.M. Carney is really good for that with his Realm series, for example. In his book 1 sets up this huge, sweeping storyline, and then it provides you with a really myopic dungeon crawl, which is not what you expected at all, not the way the thing was set up. Thorne does this too. Here, he gives you the dungeon crawl, and then, well, that's going to be telling, so I can't spoil it for everybody. But it's not exactly what you think. If you remember at the end of the first book, they were given a tower that they kind of had to clear out in order to advance and move on from there and get stronger. And this kind of plays into that aspect right at the beginning. So it was pretty neat. But I really don't want to tell you. So, but what the heck? He gives you this really fun book that generally flies in the face of what I like. For example, I prefer books where the players level up a little slower than normal. For example, I prefer books like Domino Finn's Afterlife series, where Talon and a team are just kind of now hitting level 10 by the time the 3rd book is ended. In contrast, here, Illyrion is like something, and I know it's not right, but it's like, he's like level 500 and counting. However, when one considers that the opponents that they're facing are literally thousands of levels higher than they are, and like one of them has mana cost for one spell being at around 1 million spirit points or mana points or what it is in the book, you kind of have perspective. Like 500 levels is not all that high. These are still baby steps. They're still newbies in a lot of ways. So it's kind of disproportionate to what you think. But if you break it down and say, well, this is this way and this is this way, they might really be only 3rd level technically at this point. Whereas, the world is the world and the things they fight are going to be a lot stronger. So, they're going to be 500 levels high, but I think their level expectations are a lot less than what we would have for other similar style games. All right. It's just the enemy level ratio that I seem to think that it levels it out. But I think that one of my favorite aspects of the book is that Illyrion has this ability to steal other forms of magic. I like the collection method that he has and the way that he employs it to solo up sort of level. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but I love solo games. I love to play games solo because I hate grouping with other people. To me, Skyrim was the perfect game, and I had played every iteration of it since it's come out. I mean, I had Arena and Daggerfall, and I mean, you go through it. I was there. I was the guy that was creating his own classes and things like that, and I played all by myself, and that's just the way I liked it. So, I mean, he does, Illyrion does much better. So I really kind of identify with him as a soloist. And I don't mean, he's a fan of Han Solo the movie in any way, because no one liked that movie and no one should like that movie. What I mean is he does much better on his own. I mean, just so much better. And it's fun getting to picture him figuring out, exciting ways to stop his foes via the various forms of magic that he now has at his disposal. Now, that isn't to say there aren't other interesting characters in the story. There are quite a few. His girlfriend tends to be one of the ones that you say she's pretty cool, but there's other characters that I like even better than her. Now, the book basically sees humans who have been kidnapped into the Underworld get into even deeper trouble, and they're forced to find a special place to live if they're going to survive. And that's what the whole crux of the book is. Basically, them trying to go from A to B and not die in the middle and then kind of establish themselves at B. So I'm not giving anything away. That could be in the tower. I can't tell. you anything about that. But yeah, it's just the way it is. And like I say, it's a blast seeing the characters grow and evolve. And like I said before, I would not normally like it when a character would hit a silly stat number, like say 1,000 intelligence. But in this case, I do. Thorn keeps me captivated. He has a way of flipping things around on me to where what I normally would hate in another book or with another character or another series, it works. He really makes it work. It's really fun, and I enjoy it a lot. Now, Graham Halstead, or however you say it, I can't get my tongue to do that. Halstead, I'm going to say Halstead, has narrated a goodly share of books, including another lit series that you might know, the Neuro series by Andre Levodny. So you know the man knows how to read a story, and he's not an outsider to the lit community. I just wish he would kind of join the community more. I also think he knows his stuff so well he can narrate side by side along with anybody. He does a really good job. He's not one of the bigger names, even though he's got a lot of books under his belt. But I think that he keeps a really good pace going. He maintains a fun and fresh atmosphere that a lot of books need but lack. And I really thought after book 1 of this series that I'd be hearing more from him in the LitRPG community, so to speak. But no one else has really used it, and I'm surprised. And it kind of makes me go back to, my review of Succubus, which I did a few weeks back. And the narrator there, Iggy Toma, is another person I would expect to see get a lot more work in the lit community just because of the skills that he's shown. Same here with Graham. Graham really, really knows how to tell the story. He does it well. He carries it. And I don't want to say Apollo's Thorn needs his story elevated any. But, Graham does do a really good job in holding and maintaining that story and making it a little bit better, probably, just from his intonations and emotions that he injects. So he makes it fun and it makes it interesting. And the book, it's got a really good direction. I like where it's going, especially now that I think there's going to be some, I'm a big fan of, city building or castle building or dungeon building, those sorts of things. And I think we're going to be hitting that a little bit in the next book. So, Apollos, I can't wait. Keep it up. This is really good stuff. My final score is going to be, and I'm not pulling this out of a hat, I've had to think about this, 8.3 stars. The book rocks so hard, I literally had to call a geologist to help me move on to my next book. Okay, this is my second run through, because for some reason, my audio doubled up on my voice. After my first test went perfectly. So it is now going on 2 o'clock in the morning. So bear with me if I become exhausted and pass out as I do these reviews that follow. The next book I'm doing is The Runesmith, the Greenwood, Book 2 by Galen Wolfe, narrated by Damon Alums, with a book length of 1 hour and 49 minutes.
My name is Harold Runestorm. In real life, I help children with their homework and volunteer in a library project for homeless refugees due to a probation order. But in my spare time, I log into the world of the Greenwood and kill people for fun. Sometimes I torture them too, and generally I rob them. But other days, I stay in my tower and craft things. That's just my life choice. Who are you to judge? I'm going to tell you a story about how I learned a valuable life lesson. This is how it started. The Greenwood is a virtual reality, massively multiplayer role-playing game. In the game, by profession, I'm a runesmith. My class skills are runes, potions, enchanting, fencing, and smithing.
Now, you may recall that I reviewed another book in the Greenwood series called The Bard, a lit RPG short story. I wasn't exactly overwhelmed with the tale, but given that I hadn't read much of the preceding novels or other materials, I thought maybe I'd missed something and I would give this short book another chance. I actually have mixed feelings on the matter. Now I'm going to start with Damon Alums, who narrated the Bard story. And it's odd because the other books in the series are not narrated by Damon Alums. They are narrated by somebody else. And so, again, now I'm thinking that no matter what I do, I'm going to be judging this series based on the same narrator, even though there's a different narrator for the other books. So I may have to go back and revisit at least one more time one of the other books in the series to kind of see if I can get an idea of what's good and what's bad and how things work, so to speak. With the Bard, I found his voice to be so enchanting that it wanted to put me to sleep. Not figuratively, it literally wanted to make me just close my eyes and go to sleep. Now, I admit that he did one hell of an Antonio Banderas, I don't get into that one, impression. But then I didn't know if it was his actual voice or not, because everything he did was kind of overwhelmed by that voice. The entire narration of the story was Antonio Banderas talking like this all the time. I am Puss in Boots, and you're getting very sleepy, darling. You are getting very, very sleepy. In fact, you're getting so sleepy, so very tired. Wait, I'm sorry. I just went from Antonio Banderas to Count Dracula, so I apologize. But that was kind of how it was. I didn't know if that was really the way he spoke, if he had this Spanish accent in real life or not. It wasn't. It's not his real, unless he really, really plays a great gag, goggle, goog. Unless he plays a pretty good joke, he does not talk like that at all in this story. So, this time around, his voice is much more tolerable, and easy to follow, and it does not lull you into a stupor from its droning cadence. Now, again, I want to say this. I'm not overwhelmed by his narration skills. Not at all, not in the slightest. But they weren't bad. Alum seems to be a middle packer so far. Not ahead, not behind. He's right there in the center with all the other guys, So I'm not overwhelmed by him. I'm not impressed by him. I will say that he did give each character their own voice and that it was distinctive and it was made easier to follow as the tale went on. But that was about it. He didn't overwhelm me. Kitty cat, you're not supposed to be here. With the way things worked. Wolf's writing seems to follow Alum's narration. He doesn't do that much to stand out. Honestly, having listened to the two stories, I can see that the only character that he really knows how to write is an overpowered one. The character of Harold Runestorm is perfect. And I don't mean like he's like the greatest character ever written. I mean, he is utterly perfect. He is Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. He is all-powerful. He's the best there is at what he does. He treats everyone around him like the inferiors that they naturally are. He has the best of everything, from ingredients to spells to weapons. He is the best fighter, the best rune maker. You name it, and he tops the charts. He's incredibly great at everything. Everything. It got repetitive listening to him brag about how awesome he was. It got to be really old, okay? Now, one might argue, and I can see this, that Wolf was just character building so that he could show you what a jerk the guy was, but he just kept it going and going and going. And then you had to listen to him harangue NPCs and players alike. And it really wore thin. It really did. I got it. I got the idea. He was an a-hole of the highest order, the greatest magnitude, the most expansive. You get it? You get the idea? You couple the arrogance with a nasty personality. And like I say, there are characters that are not meant to be nice. And this is one of them. He's not meant to be nice. But, there has to be something just somewhere along the way that's just a touch redeeming. That makes you say, yes, I get this. He may be a jerk, but he has solid points somewhere out there for doing this or for doing that. And you don't get that here at all. Not at all. None of it. So, I just can't do it. But I will hand it to Wolf. Okay, Wolf does play like this long game. And there are reasons why he makes the character so annoying. And that's so he can hit you with not just one, but two plot twists. Now, the problem is neither of the twists are really all that original, but they do work in the context of the story. And I mean, a plot twist does not have to be at the level of M. Night Shyamalan during his initial Sixth Sense era. That was like a great plot twist. Not every twist has to be that brilliant. It can just be, hey, guess what? Boom, this is what really happened. But plot twists should be shocking. They should be a surprise. They should be fun. And, I wasn't shocked or surprised because as soon as it happened, I was like, I see what's happening here. And at least the end twist was kind of funny to me. It was kind of gruesome, but it was a little funny in a certain way. I don't know. Maybe you just have to be a little bit twisted to get that. But I did chuckle a little bit more than I probably should have. But I think, they work in the context of the story, and therein lies the rub. The story is not really bad, but it's so much longer than it needs to be. Editing would have resulted in a shorter, tighter story that would not have been so annoying at times. And you can only hear about how great someone is so many times before you really stop caring. When you no longer care, that's the time to get away. And that's the bad thing is the book is just under 2 hours. So by the time you just really say, I can't take it anymore, it's over. It's too late. And I wasn't ripping my eyes out or, poking my ears with the way things were going, but it wasn't amazing and it wasn't spectacular. The one thing that didn't fit was the fact that a grade A bunghole like Runestorm, who seemed to know everything, didn't realize that just because someone says they were a pacifist didn't mean that they wouldn't fight or hurt you in order to defend themselves or property or other people or other things like animals. I just don't get what he was thinking. That was like a really bad plot point. Here's Harold. And the way I say this is, Harold has to be smart because he is at the top of his game. He's not just some blowhard. When he's saying he's the best, he really is the best. And I'm not a big fan of OP characters for the sake of being OP. But he's not blowing smoke. He's not, over billing himself as being the greatest thing since sliced bread or the second coming. He is what he is. So he's not stupid. But for, a really intelligent, slick guy to say, oh, I thought, pacifist meant they wouldn't hit you back. The Amish are pacifist, but, they still have problems in their community, just because they don't believe in violence doesn't mean it doesn't happen, okay? And that's the same thing here. I can say I'm a pacifist, but if you smack me in the face, I'm going to fight back. If you try to take my wife away from me, I'm going to fight back. If you try to steal from me, I'm going to fight back. So the whole pacifism equals non-compliance, or not non-compliance, but for utter compliance to your wishes is just stupidity. I just didn't think it fit at all with the character in the story. So I don't know. That just, it may have come across a bit differently if somebody else had read it. But to me, it was more the writing and not the reading in this case. So I don't know. There were certain things that really worked. Like you say, I did think that it was made to be the way it was for reasons. And I think, again, if somebody else had read the story may have come across a lot differently. It may have been something I would say, if Jeff Hayes had read this, I would be like, that was probably a lot better because Jeff Hayes read it. I think he could have worked with it and done things. And, like I say, with the way he does his readings, there you go. It works because it's natural, it's organic. And here it just kind of feels like, I am reading, as the story wasn't overly bad. However, I do think that some trimming could have really taken place and produced a decent story. Alums performed professionally. So I could read that like that, and it wouldn't be great. But, Jeff would be like, as things go, the story wasn't overly bad. I think some trimming could have really produced a decent story. Alums performed professionally, and it could have been a lot better. Now, as it stands, I'm going to give this a 6.5, and I'll tell you why. Again, I think a lot of the issues lay in the narration. It was a mediocre, middle-of-the-pack kind of reading. I'm not enamored with his skills. He's not a horrible narrator, but he's not one I would say, Damon Alums did this book, I'll pick this up and listen to it because he did it. I would never do that. It wouldn't happen. But there was also some writing flaws with the main character being so OP and so annoying that there was no redeeming qualities at all. And there was no surprise. Like I say, the end surprises, the twist, they weren't surprises. They weren't real twists because you kind of saw it coming from a mile away. But the best I could say is this is a 6.5 on the best of days, a 6.5. All right. My next book that I'm reviewing is going to be Ascend Online by Luke Chemlenko, narrated by Luke Daniels, with a book length of 17 hours and 56 minutes.
Sunday, February 3rd, 2047, 6:43 a.m. 24-hour fitness, augmented reality exercise simulator, Aries. I let out a loud grunt as I swung my fist through the air, feeling the telltale buzz of my haptic glove shoot up my arm as my fist passed through the jaw of the shimmering opponent in front of me. A heartbeat later, the simulation reeled backwards as I quickly followed up with a combination of punches, breaking through my virtual opponent's defense. I ducked under a wild punch, feeling a slight buzz in my headgear, telling me the attack had barely grazed the side of my head. My leg shot forward, landing a vicious strike against the simulated boxer's side, sending him crashing into the ground.
So this is a tale of two unbeatable Lukes, Luke Chemlenko and Luke Daniels. And I just want to know which of them actually has Darth Vader for a father, because they pulled some Jedi mind trick stuff to get us with this story. You know, it's like, Luke, I am your writer. Luke, I am your narrator. You know, so they really got this in. It's really good. In fact, I have to say, this is how good the book is. Somebody supposedly, I have to say that, right? Like allegedly, I have to say allegedly or supposedly, so I don't get sued or something. Supposedly, like this book so much that they sort of copied parts of it for their own story. Now, you know what they say, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, but there is a lot of difference between imitating a man and counterfeiting him. So, you know, the story's pretty good when somebody thinks it's good enough to swipe. I mean, the same thing happened to James Hunter. So, you know, you're in good company with this when somebody does snag your stuff, that plagiarism stuff. Plagiarizing is not nice, it's not fun, but when they do it, you know you're doing something right because somebody else wanted to do what you did, and they think they can make money off it just pretending to be you. So it should be a little bit flattering, but it's also testimony to how good the book is. So any hoo-hoo, as they say in France, the entire gaming system here is pretty well thought out. That's one of the best parts and best aspects of the book, is that it easily avoids tropes like stuck in the game or the real world has to intrude. They very smoothly, slickly, slyly take all that away. They make it where they go in for a chunk of months at a time to play. And then, you know, they rotate out, and then they can come back in and play later after they've resumed their lives for a little bit. So there are considerations, that pop up just from that. But that was like one of the best things about it, because it just said, here's my story. You don't have to worry about me having to leave. You don't have to worry about what's happening in the real world. None of that jazz has any burden relevance or bearing on what is going on in this story. This is just a story about the gamers and how they play. And I like that. I like that a lot. It's smart. And one of the things it does play with, and it's what it is, I'm kind of burned out about it, but I will say this is an earlier book. So the trope wasn't quite as tropey when this was written as it is now. But it does do the NPCs are so real that it causes ethical considerations to arise as you play and you interact with the NPCs. Look, I get it. I get that, entering that virtual reality, there are points where things would seem so real, look so real, feel so real, and you would think that by talking and interacting to the people that are there, the NPCs, that they are real. But you can make something like, they have those bots that go ahead and they can write things now just by watching different shows or whatever. They can kind of imitate those things. They're just bots. And to me, the only world, and I mean the only world in which the NPCs should be comparable to the players is James Hunter's Viridian Gate Online. What's up, James? Hey, oh yeah, James. Viridian Gate, the players are just virtual copies. They're imitations of the real life counterparts because all the people that are players in the game are dead. So they are just digital imprints. And the only thing that separates them from the NPCs is the fact that these guys, the players, get to reboot when they get killed. NPCs can't do that. So that would be the only world where I could say, yeah, if James Hunter said, oh, these NPCs are so real, great. I understand it. I believe it. And that's fine. Other games, I kind of get burned out when they start saying, hey, the NPCs are so real. I think there's more to this than you would expect. Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it 100 times. I don't care. But like I say, this is earlier on, and it's not a negative. It's just me venting here about stuff. Like I said, I'm tired now. It's getting after 2:00, so I'm going to complain a little bit. But one of the aspects about the book that I really liked, was that of the nemesis. The main character is kind of smacked upside the head with having this mob that wants to kill him. And it wants to kill him over and over again. And he has to end up killing it before he can be free of this cycle of, I'm killing you, you're dead, I'm going to hunt you down and kill you again. Because it gives you this, and if you know me, I wrote a story from the perspective of a mob. I like mobs, I like monsters, and I like their perspectives a lot. And you get this nemesis's, is that right? Nemesis's? This nemesis's perspective as he's like, well, did my job. I whacked that cat. I'm out of here. And then he's like, what? He's back? I've got to kill him again? I hate this guy. And that's like the best part because the nemesis doesn't expect it. And you get to see the way it thinks and why it thinks the way it does. It's not just like he just says, I have to kill this cat. This dude has got to go. He doesn't do that at all. There's reasons why he behaves the way he behaves. And it added an element of fun to the story that you don't normally get. I mean, the nemesis could strike at any time and often did, especially when he was least expecting it. And you were kind of least expecting it because there was things going on elsewhere. And then pow, there's the nemesis and he's janked. So in the way that they dealt with the nemesis in the story itself was really creative and cool too. So if you know me, I love getting that perspective of the mobs, and this one was there. It was there. Now, another aspect that was important to me was the fact that the main character is not overpowered in the slightest. He's just a basic player, as are his teammates. I also thought that even though, this group that is there, they seem to have been together for a while. They seem to have played games in other areas. They couldn't coordinate as effectively as you would expect. And to me, that's real life. I think that gamers are gamers, and, you put a bunch of gamers together, there's going to be some that just like, they are a crack SEAL team, they're SEAL Team 6, and then there's going to be a team of 6 SEALs. And I can tell you right now, if you put, like, if we were playing WoW and you put myself, my wife, and my 2 brothers in the game together, we've known each other for, like, my wife has been a part of the family for nearly 20 years now. So we've known each other for a long time. My brothers and I have known each other all our lives, amazingly. But my wife has only been here for 20, so I got to put it like that. But we've known each other for 20 years at a minimum. And you put us into a group, and I know what my brother Matt would do, what my brother David would do, and I know what my wife would do, and I know what I would do. And none of it would mesh. We would act like 10 monkeys. Okay, I'll be frank with you. My wife would play properly. She would do exactly what she was meant to do. She would play it to the hilt because she always plays a cleric or healer at some point, and she's amazing at it, and she is really good. But my brothers and I are like monkeys that have been driven mad with steroids, and we are flinging poop in 14 different directions, and we have no idea what we're throwing at or why we're throwing it. It just goes off the rails really quickly. And we should be a crack team, but we're not. We never have been, never will be, never could be. And that's the way that this group is. They could probably be like an amazing group, and they do pretty well together. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like they're a bunch of imbeciles that just stand around going, "Oh, I wish we could do something right for a change." No, they do a lot right, but I think that they don't coordinate as well as they should. So there you go. The point is that they feel like real people. In a lot of ways, they're real people. And the story now itself is pretty simple. It's just basically a defend the town. And they do this a few times, but that's it in a nutshell. That's it. Stop the goblins and some players and protect the NPCs. That's it. Protect their homes. Less is better. That's it. It's simple. Less is better, not more. The story's not convoluted, nor is it hectic, and it plays out, in a simple, well-crafted manner that is both organic and natural. Now, what I will say is that some of the characters maybe come across as less developed as they could be, but then when you're dealing with like a group dynamic, you don't always need a big standout personality or backstory for every character. Sometimes the paladin can just be the paladin. Sometimes the thief can just be the thief. That's one of those things where if you look at a book, the main character is always going to be the star of the show. And then other characters are there for window dressing. They're not meant to do a lot. I think that, and I hate to say this. Oh, I don't want to do this. Like, for example, there are points where you say, okay, there's a main character and then there's another main character, and they kind of go side by side and do things. But the fact is the MC, there's one here who just kind of grows and develops as things go. There's no real right or wrong in it. But, oh man, just I'm going to just skip it. I'm not even going to talk about it. The fact is, like I say, they can just be background characters. They can be background noise and leave it at that. That's all I have to say about it. The fights, they are pretty exciting. Even if there are just some goblins, most of the time it isn't played out like it's just goblins. They present a serious, a real and present danger, a clear and present danger. And again, I will reiterate that I love listening to like town building take place or dungeon buildings. So some of my favorite parts of the book came when they were shoring up their defense. It's like, way to build that, rampart, or, way to dig that ditch, way to put those spikes up there. That was like some of the best parts of the book to me because I enjoy that. And I don't know what it is. I can't cognitively figure it out in myself what it is I enjoy so much about that, but I do. I enjoy it. So, there's a lot going on, even though there's no power leveling. And that's another thing. No power leveling, no overpowered stuff. It's just play, and you're done. And that's the difference. Like, I'm sure in Apollo's Thorn, I say in his latest book with the Underworld series, the characters sound like they're overpowered because, like, I'm level 500, but they're not because, like, yeah, they might be level 500, but the monsters they're facing are like level 2000. So there's no, hey, we're right there, we're super powered. Here, it is what it is. They grow and get stronger, but it's not overwhelming and it's not insane. It's not unbelievable. Now, I will go into narration and say Luke Daniels is just a narration Green Beret. He is a vocal warrior from the sky. Through and through, he always does one hell of a job. And this is where I'm going to say, like, my hardest job with this reviewing is the portions that deal with narration. That is the thing that gives me the most difficulty. Why? Because if a narrator sucks or they're mediocre, it's easy for me to say, there's where the problem is. There's where the problem is. See? There's where the problem is. I just killed my microphone. But that's it. I can say that. I can say, here's where it is, there's where it is. But when you've got somebody good, there's only so many ways I can say it. I can only say it so many times where it doesn't sound like hyperbole. I can only say that, if you know Luke Daniels, by this point he's good. He always delivers a solid performance. He's never let you down. He has, character voices and a pace that keeps you listening. So he kicks butt. That's the most I can do. That's the easiest thing I can do. Basically, I can just say they did a really good job. That's it. And again, I am saying, he kicked butt. He did do the performance complete with voices and emotion and pace. But I can't really expound like crazy because it is what it is. I can only say he was really amazing so many different ways. So Luke Daniels is an incredible narrator. He has never let me down. He is never disappointed. He has a great voice. I like listening to him, and he does have a good cadence and pacing as he reads. And he knows how to add in little flares. And I actually have thought about a series. And for some reason, like I said, I'm going to be doing What Else Have They Done with Domino Finn with his urban fantasy book. Sometime here in the future, I'll be doing that. And I think with Luke Daniels, I will spotlight him in the same way with another urban fantasy series that he just really just hits it out of the park because he just does like some great voices in that series. And I think that I'm going to bring that up too because he deserves spotlighted in that aspect, and that series really lets him shine. And here he does just that. Now this is like earlier on. This is like way back when because this is not a new book. It's not a new release. But he's still rock solid, even from back then. I mean, he knew what he was doing when he started this. So there's no disappointment here. There's no letdown. It's only top tier stuff. My final score, before I break everything, and I need to go to bed, is 8.4 stars. I really like this book, and I don't know why it took me so long to do something by Luke Chemlenko. Just incredible. He's a good writer. He's rock solid. And it's fun. That's the most important thing. This was a fun book. And I'm just going to say, this is the first book. There's more to come. And I don't think you want to miss it. I think this is one of those things where if you don't take advantage of it, get into it, you're going to regret it later on when you finally hear 15 other people say, this is a really good book. I mean, I think that he's probably got 500, and I can't remember because I don't look at reviews, but I looked for something. I was looking at, I was trying to get to the audio information so that I could pull it up, and I was on Amazon, and I pulled up the screen, and the ebook and the whatever it was there, and there was like 500 reviews. You don't get 500 reviews for a mediocre book. Seriously, there's a lot of reviews there, and 99% of them look to be like 5 stars. So that says a lot. The series is kick-ass. It really does an amazing job. The narration is spot on. It's about damn perfect as you can get. You can't miss out. 8.4, you will be so happy you started this series. So this is going to be my sound booth spotlight for the week, even though technically it's not a sound booth production. It's because it's one of the members of the sound booth team that I'm going to get away with this, because I'm doing Trojan, Afterlife Online Book 3 by Domino Finn. Like, there's a shark in the water Finn over that way coming for you with this book. There's a Domino Finn shark. There you go. It's narrated by Justin Thomas James, hence the SBT connection, with a book length of 13 hours and 23 minutes.
Blast them sea cows back to the abyss! Boom. Boom. Critical hit. Powder cannon dealt 95 damage to Undyne support vessel. Waterlogged. Powder cannon dealt 95 damage to Undyne support vessel. The cannons shredded the surfacing vessels with ruthless efficiency. Either Arrow's cannons were overpowered, or we had really caught them with their pants down. Boom. Boom. Critical hit. Mast break. Powder cannon dealt 95 damage to Undyne support vessel. Savage. Powder cannon dealt 125 damage to Undyne support vessel. Undyne support vessel is wrecked. 1 wreck awarded. 2,000 XP awarded. One of the ships immediately canted over. The other stalled in the water, its mast and sail tumbling over the deck and smashing crew members. The vessel was barely hanging on. The display was astounding, but I had my eyes on something else entirely. Holy crap! Did you guys see that XP? It's the life, ain't it? Boasted Errol. Sinking an enemy vessel awards 10 times its structural integrity points to every member of the victorious crew.
So, let me just say, in my first recording of this review, I sang for you. And I'm getting really tired. It's getting up there in the hours now, and I've got to get up in the morning. I don't know how well I'm going to do. I will try it. I will try to do this for you now. But I'm going to tell you what I'm doing and why. There is a song by Danny Kaye and the Andrews Sisters, and I'm a huge fan of the 40s. I used to listen to 40s music with my grandmother as a kid. My son, Logan, loves this song. I'm a huge Andrews Sisters person. Lemon Sisters are good. Andrews Sisters are better. And Danny Kaye makes this a jokey kind of song. And I love to laugh. I love fun. Hence, I know the song very well. But the song was my homage to the Mountain Bongo Bandit. Can you say that 3 times real fast? In the book, because Bandit's really not represented very well in this book as much as I think the Mountain Bongo should have been. She does get a pretty good role in one part of the book, but for the most part, she's basically ignored or left behind. Shame, Domino Finn. Bandit is an essential part of Talon's party. You know, she is there. But anyway, the Mountain Bongo Bandit. So I had to sing it like this. I was, bongo, 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 I don't want to leave the city without my mountain bongo. Oh, no. Bingo, bango, bongo, I'm so happy in the Bandit. With Bandit, I refuse to go. And like I say, that's the song, you know, that's what it is. The song is about civilization, okay? Civilization. And that is what this book is all about. It's teamwork, trust. It's about civilization. It is about them and their city trying to connect to other cities, and even then trying to build up those cities that exist so that there's peace. It's all about maintaining the peace. And, you know, civilization is not possible during wartime. It's very uncivilized. War is by nature uncivilized. So, you know, that's why I thought it was appropriate and it was fun, and I enjoy, you know, oh, no, the Mountain Bongo, that sort of stuff. So I just kind of had to throw that in there. So if I sucked, just blame it on the hour, because it's very late and I've been up for a long time, and I don't drink coffee, and I'm wired right now for some bizarre reason. I don't know if you can tell that, but I'm beginning to digress again. So let me just kind of go through this. A lot of stuff happens in this installment, and at first I really thought this might have been, I thought it might have been an end to the book. I said, oh, this is feeling like There's a lot of stuff closing. Yes, there's one plot point left open, but there's a lot of stuff closing. There's a lot of stuff happening. And that is a signal when that sort of stuff goes that the series is coming to an end. And I'm a big fan of trilogies. Like, trilogies are big with me. I love having a beginning, middle, and an end. Boom, you do it like that. And I always look back to in urban fantasy, the Harry Dresden series by Jim Butcher. It's about 16, 17 books in length right now, and it's been about 4 years since the last book came out, and it used to be one book a year, every year for a long time, and then it kind of stopped, and Jim Butcher kind of had like, well, I got a divorce, and well, my dog died, and well, my office is too small, or I can't write here, and I can't do this. He was late, like, I just got married. It was like one excuse after another, and you know what it was, and I'm not trying to defend Jim Butcher or, beat him up over this. But the fact is he was just kind of burned out on the series. You can tell, if you look at what he's done, how he's done things, dragging his feet. I mean, any other job in the world, if you just, I got a divorce. Great. I'll see you tomorrow, Bob. Hey, my dog died. Hey, great. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll see you tomorrow, Bob. Hey, my office space is really too small. I'm really sorry to hear that, but I'll see you tomorrow, Bob. And Butcher is lucky that he has a huge fan base, and he can literally walk away from the series and still make piles of money for years and never write again. But if he had done the smart thing and done this in trilogies, a 3-book arc here, a 3-book arc there, he could have done, because I think, like I said, we're on book number 17, he could have done book number 18 and called it a day for 5 years and refreshed himself and got his batteries juiced up and running again and come back to it. He doesn't do that. He's been dragging his feet for a long time. And William Morand is a really, really great person to look at, because he does the Selfless Hero, then he does Supercells on Superheroes, and he does Wild Waste, and you name it, each thing he does is a trilogy. But the smart thing is, and he has said this many times, because he's concluding the first portion with 3 books, does not mean he cannot come back and do another 3 books. He's never writing that out. He's never discounting that possibility. And so here, I kind of thought Domino Finn said, we've got to kind of curtail things for now. I'll leave this kind of a plot line open. There's, it's unclosed, it's unfinished, it's undone. But I'll leave it here. I'm just going to hang it on this hook, and we're going to close up all this other stuff. And I'll come back to this afterwards. I'm going to go do something else for a little while and come back and do another 3 books. And I thought, oh man, this is really going that way. It's great. It's as amazing. But he didn't do that. So, all the signs were there. Damn it, Domino Finn. And I'm not complaining, because I really love this series. But there were a lot of things that made me think that, because there are reveals upon reveals here. Now, the book, it kind of starts off. Let me put it like this: the title of the book is Trojan, right? Trojan, and you think of the title name, and you look at the dragon on the cover, and you might have thought this was all about protection and prevention, But no. Finn hits you with a lot right off the bat, and he never lets up. But it's not about protection. It's not. It's about civilization. That's what I said. It's about civilization. There's no condom jokes here. I could probably do a couple, but I'm not going to. It's too late, and I'm too tired. Yep. So anyway, the way the book starts is that Talon is the victim of an assassination attempt. Now, this is not a spoiler. This happens immediately as the book starts. So what happens is he sets himself up on his own little quest, personal quest, to figure out who the person or persons were behind this assassination attempt. But the quest soon spirals into a variety of events that are pretty epic in their battles to serve. It gives us like a high sea adventure. There's some Oakengard intrigue, and there's a big epic battle with yet another Titan. So I have to add, there are some huge reveals here with Talon himself, with Lucifer, and Tad. And if you know who Tad is, I'm not going to tell you if you don't, because that would be a really big bad spoiler. But even Tad makes and appearance, and there's revelations there. So you find out a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in this book. It's heavy. Now, the only downside, and I'm just going to say this, there is a downside to this book. And I'm going to just be frank with you that I was not happy because there is one thing that was just left out. And I'm not talking about Bandit not being, having a bigger part. Bandit should have been more involved. She's a part of the group. She's a part of the team. But she wasn't. She was ignored for the most part, just given a bit of a piece. But the person who was really shafted, however you want to put it, shorted the most is Varnu Johnson. He is the greatest tech support guy that ever hit the pages of the book. And he has just one little teeny weeny brief cameo. And it just wasn't enough. I mean, Varnu needs it. And the only thing comparable is the tech support scenes from Everybody Loves Large Chest. Those are funny, and the Varnu Johnson's funny. And the difference is the Everybody Loves Large Chest tech support scenes, it's a situational humor. It's very situational. The tech support scenes in Domino Finn's thing is very character driven. It's all about the character. So, which one's better? There's no better. There's situations and there's characters. And they both play out really well. And Varnu, I mean, he's one of those guys, like, I just wait for Talon to call tech support. Just wait for it. And only had one time that we did that. And it was very brief because Talon just absolutely had to speak to St. Peter. There was no way around it. And I'm like, why? Why couldn't we just have something happen somewhere else where he calls tech support? So, Domino, please give us some more Varnu because, this isn't a trilogy. You didn't close the book series out. I need more Varnu in my books. Okay? Need more. Anyway, the book is packed full of action. So full that I think he's going to have to write another book just to keep up because it overflows. It spills out. It's a wild, fun ride. And this is a world I deeply, and I mean this most sincerely, I deeply love to visit. This is like one of my early lit RPG come-tos. Like my big discovery was Afterlife. And the whole thing just sucked me right in. I loved listening to, Justin Thomas James talk about them hunting the rats and them leveling up. I was like, man, this stuff is brilliant. This is great. And this is not changed. It's still great. I still enjoy it. And now, speaking of Justin Thomas James, I have to say, Justin Thomas James racks up points doing his pirate imitation. Oh, yeah, our laddie. Yeah, he does a really good pirate imitation. He says, I used to have a pirate parrot on my shoulder here, but how to get rid of it? Well, why? Because found out it weren't no pirate parrot. It were an ostrich and it damn near broke my shoulder. So he does this really good pirate voice. And honestly, I laugh so hard at the party chat part at the end of the book. I'm going to be frank with you. The end of the book, it really struck me as hilarious. It was just, there's a complete blast going through the cast because it's just one after another. And I just envisioned, Justin Thomas James doing that whole piece in one long, amazing take, uncut, unvarnished, unblemished, as he literally does every character of any significance in the story. And it would just break my heart so much to think that he didn't do it all in one take, because it's just uncut and perfect for hilarity. And I can't see him going back and, editing that in because, you get like Talon, hey guys, Kyle, and each one of those characters are given things to do. Trafford, and it's just he yells out the name in that tone, and then he does that voice, and he does the next thing, and it's so rapid fire, that it is hilarious. And the highlight of the party chat end scene was the voice of the Kraken. I was driving when he did that, and I laughed so hard I almost crashed. Now I have to say, my speeding had literally nothing to do with the peril that I was placed in, and it was all because of Justin's comedic endeavors. Me speeding, no connection to the crash that nearly occurred, because I was laughing as I went around this big, huge bend. I was laughing so hard. I really almost biffed it. It wouldn't have been nice, and it wouldn't have been fun. And I don't think that I would have enjoyed that at all had things happen. But another thing is that Justin Thomas James sings a sea shanty in this book. He does it a cappella. Yeah, there you go. My voice sometimes, I don't know what it is, but you get to the late hours and you start getting around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I just can't talk. But he does this a cappella, but he also does it in the vein of the character, in the voice of the character. So you can say, well, what you want. But he pulls it off. He does a really, really good job. It's fun listening to him sing the shanty, and I can't wait to hear the other book he does, in the One Dragon book, where he actually sings for real. So I can't wait to get to that. That's one of my I can't wait for books, and it'll be soon. I try to space out, not doing the same person week after week after week, and so here I'll get to it. But it was just really fun. But I have to say. The best voice that he does in Afterlife, and my favorite of all of them, is Kyle. His frat boy partier banter is amazing. He has it down cold. The voice fits the brewmaster to utter perfection. I really like the way the guy talks. It's so funny. I just enjoy listening to Justin Thomas James whenever he returns to this world. And since the first time I've heard him, on the first book of the series, I was just like, wow, this guy's great. I just had to say that he was amazing. So it takes me back to the first moments that I literally stepped into or fell into LitRPG. Plain and simple, he owns this series. No one else could ever do it because it would lose a special spark. It really would. James just does the job. He does it and nails it. Just takes it. He owns it. He stole the series. It's Domino Finn's as well as his. No one else could do this series. There's just no way. My final score is going to be 8.2 stars. Finn and James are just unbeatable. If you haven't started the series, go back and give it a listen. It's amazing. Well, gang, that's the show for the week. Before I ride off into the sunset with a hearty hi-yo silver, I'd like to thank you all for watching very much, everyone. I do appreciate you taking time to watch or listen to the show. If you want to support us, you can always like the LitRPG podcast page on Facebook or YouTube, or just share and like the videos. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed our show. Please leave comments or suggestions down below, and feel free to tell me whatever you like. I do listen and hear you all. I enjoy the feedback. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and iTunes, Google Play and Stitcher. Now remember, I did ask last week if you could. I do have a couple of books on Royal Road. There are the Nightmare Game and Apocalypse on Endless Earth's Apocalypse How. The first is a straight up horror lit RPG. I'm really having fun with this book. I think it's probably the best stuff I've ever written. I've written for a long time, but I've never put anything out until recently. I think the MC is not a nice guy, but he's not meant to be, and he does things that you should do in order to survive a horror story. So you might like that. And the other one is a sci-fi humor lit RPG. It is, to me, it's got some really funny parts to it. I say that only because I've had other people tell me it's got a lot of humor in it. So, you may laugh. I hope so. But I ask you to please give them a look. Remember, as always, please leave a review for any book that you've listened to or read. Authors really depend on reviews. It helps them a lot. And if it's a book that you've enjoyed, by leaving a review, you're almost guaranteeing that the book will continue on later and become a bigger series, because your reviews help the book get noticed. Without a review, a book gets bypassed. Even a bad review helps sometimes. The more reviews you have, the more likely they're going to have Amazon spread the word. 100 reviews, whether they're all good or bad, they're going to say, hey, there's 100 reviews here, so boom, there you go. So just do that for everybody. For the LitRPG Audiobook Podcast, I'm Ray. Please keep listening.